Hey everyone, so in this video, it's just going to be a match against Pistols of Wrath. I'm in Freak Show now, in case any of you didn't know that. We are a faction in Whitfield, and we just had a great war showing. We ended up coming in second behind Days After Rodeo, but we also had two more factions in our region that I believe placed in the top 8, so Edge of Death and Dead Bastards, congratulations. I'm really proud of how our region did as a whole. I think it's really impressive to have 3 factions even close to the top 10 in a cross-regional war where there's 8 regions involved. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content and information. So in this war, there were a few towers that, I just wasn't extremely impressed with. I understand the yellow tower for attack up for fast characters makes sense because they just released AJ. It is also effective for Arav, of course, but you still need to have that normalizability because even a team like this, we have a payback, we have 2 bide characters, and a human shield. So normalize will stop payback, it'll stop bide, and it'll stop a human shield from being a human shield, and it'll just be a normal character. So there I ended up losing 2 tunes. I wasn't able to normalize that Shiva, so that was a bit unfortunate, but you just have to live and die by RNG sometimes. So what I've been finding in this war is that I see a lot of offensive tunes on defense. There are a fair number of defense teams, so like an Aaron lead, but I always find these Mercer teams to be more difficult. It's very hit or miss with RNG, and it's all based on how my RNG works versus their RNG. Like I could go into a match, and here I have 4 stunned on the defense team, and none of my tunes are stunned. So I'm not sure what the odds are like for that, but I would just say that I got lucky. In war, for me, it's pretty difficult to run Mercer both ways because I have him defensively set because I need the defense on my defensive team, but I often lack some power. So by crafting that team player 4 weapon on my Mercer to increase all my tunes attacks by 15%, and then also giving plus 35 crit chance helps an enormous amount because all of these teams have that 20% defense bonus because the general is still alive. I've been finding a lot of these offense-defense teams to be very effective at killing usually my Dr. Stevens, but he usually is able to give me that AP boost that I need, so even though he dies, I still have the AP in order to rush. Now I got lucky on this Jackie team where I was able to stun both command tunes, so neither Arav was able to rush on the first turn. This would be a prime target though to run payback on attack, because if Arav is going to rush on the first turn, you have a high chance of at least one of them picking your payback tune in a line. And if you have like a blue payback Shiva, Arav will target that tune because of the type advantage if you don't have any other blues on your passive team. This defensive team that I'm coming across now is very unique. So Mateo is an amazing character. Right now he's holding that absolute defense axe. If he uses his infection, it's going to be very difficult to defeat this team. We see there's 2 princesses who have active taunts and normalize. We have Mercer who can stun, of course, and provide just a lot of chaos that way. So it's really about controlling Mateo and hopefully just killing this team quickly, or at least keeping him busy, because if he ends up using that active skill, I have 3 turns in order to kill the whole team. So whenever it's a tanky defense and there's a Mateo, it can be very frustrating and challenging, especially if they use that active skill on the first turn. It really forces you to make decisions quickly, and you really have to be effective at being able to take out all the defensive tunes. So if Mateo was on a more defensive team, I think it would actually be more challenging because you can only control a team for so long before something slips through, especially when you're trying to raid or war at a very fast pace, because you are right now battling the clock. The longer you take in a match, the more opportunity that the enemy has to take you out. So you really have to be fast when you war. It can be very challenging to find that balance. I often have to take a lot of risks when I war, because if I'm too slow, if I take my time, I'm probably going to be dead by the time I get out. It's just my defense is not the greatest, and no defense really holds up 100% of the time anymore. There's always a way to counter it. It doesn't always mean that I have a way to counter it, but no defense is 100%. So just keep this in mind when you end up fighting, and be aware that you'll sometimes have to make adjustments on the fly. Like maybe you just need to switch a command tune. Like Xander might be a good choice to use because of his disarm active skill. But against an Angel team, you might not want to use Xander because the 100% AP when he rushes and controls the enemy could actually end up causing him to kill another toon on your team. His active skill disarms but also provides plus 35% AP to self. So if he's exhausted by Angel, that's 1500 damage. Now, with my team, you can see that I'm freely using Doc while under Angel's exhaust, and it's just because I've set up my Dr. Stevens in a particular way where he has enough HP that he can survive that exhaust. And I just find it more valuable to mod him against stun as well as confuse because I mostly see Mercer leads, and there's a little bit of an emerging pathway for Jackie at the moment. So she's not as common as Mercer, but she's still, I find, almost more common than seeing Angel as a lead. So I just prefer to have my Dr. Stevens being able to survive exhaust from Angel and Leopo, but being able to resist the stun as well as the confuse. So this war is definitely going to be a coin war. We can see that pistols have definitely been repairing as well. So I'm going to actively repair because I've been hitting well. Like in war, it's really important to be able to gauge how well you're attacking, and it's really an educated decision on if you should coin back. Like, I gauge it where if I know I'm going to score more points than I'm going to give up, I will coin back, especially if it's a close match or if it ends up being like a coin war where it could go either way in the end. I think one of the hardest parts of the game is knowing when to coin or knowing when to repair. Like, you might think that you're hitting well, but if you're not hitting fast enough, it can be a problem because you might score and have 4 perfect hits. But because it takes 5 hits to kill you, if you only get 4 perfect hits in, but they get 5 perfect hits in on you, they will be netting more points overall, especially if you're holding a tower, or they're holding a tower, or they're general, or they have a win streak going on, for example. So it's very important to understand when is your time to coin, and honestly, just talking to your faction about it is really important. Like, we have some set rules in our own faction, some guidelines kind of, just to give us an idea of when is appropriate to coin and when we can just kind of let things go. Like, if I know everyone in the faction is hitting well, sometimes I won't coin because I know we have it handled. So it's all about understanding how your faction works, what your goal is, as well as addressing kind of a strength of the enemy's faction too. So waiting on the cooldown for when I can next attack a person is sometimes very annoying. What my faction does is we communicate in our faction chat to let others know how long we have on cooldown before we can attack again. This helps other people know where we're at, as well as when we can save cans, because if I have 0 energy right now, I don't really want to have to use a can for 1 hit, especially if someone else in my faction has an energy and is able to actively destroy them. So what I'm looking for right now is possibly taking a tower again and maybe getting a war can drop. So this war ended with us with 80,000 points and pistols with 30,000. The match itself was actually a lot closer than that. When we add in that 24,000 bonus for winning, we realize that the point differential isn't as much as it alludes to be. It's really 56,000 points to 30,000, which still seems like a lot, but with both factions coining, it just gives more opportunity for points. And then when we add in, as I mentioned before, if you have a team in a stronghold, you get 100 extra points every time you win, but at the same time, you could be giving away 100 points to the enemy as well. You get extra points if you attack someone who has a stronghold. So a person who has a team in a stronghold, you actively attack them and kill them, you get a few extra points from that as well. You get bonus points for having more toons alive, and you do more damage to the enemy's HP that way. You get extra points if you attack a general. You also get extra points if you are a general. So there's just a lot of ways to manipulate how many points you get, and it's important to note that there are green and yellow points. The green points are considered faction points, while the yellow points are solo points, and these solo points work specifically with your own milestones, while green points directly influence your faction's overall rank in the war. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video.